Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Moss, host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. I hope that you are off to a fabulous start to your week, that your Monday has been momentous, and your Tuesday will be terrific, and your Wednesday will be wonderful, and your Thursday will be thunderous, and your Friday will be fantastic. We don't have to get to Saturday and Sunday. But listen, I want to just thank a few people who have been really helpful. Shout out to Brother Issa, who's helped me doing some home repairs. Shout out to my AC guy, Chris, who keeps your brother cool. I finally got my TV room all the way I wanted to. It's cool. I really enjoyed myself. And just a shout out to some of the brothers down at Master Wharf Dean. I haven't seen them in a long time. And shout out to the mural that was out there, Masjid Talim. I didn't get to see it, but I saw the pictures of it. I didn't get to go visit it, but I saw the pictures of it. It was amazing work. It brought a lot of pride to my heart. You know, a lot of people need to know about what the contributions and relevancy is of African-American Muslims in all over the place. Houston, D.C., Chicago. It's a very sophisticated engagement with society at a time where Islam was not a mainstream religion here in the United States. In fact, it was through the prism of African-American struggle that a lot of people found, if you will, found the narrative of Islam in their life and took that narrative and they challenged for equality, justice, and freedom in many regards. So I want to give a shout out for the people that put that mural together. All right, so let me get to this thing, brothers and sisters. Today we're going to talk about, are we seeing the death of truth? Now, I know it sounds very dramatic, and it does have a lot of the feel of, a very polemic feel to it. But I am looking at a lot of things, and some of the jokes that I've told over the years about white supremacy and racism and things like that, that were classic jokes that were hysterical and funny, that when you literally looked at them, like when I would have to explain certain jokes to Mr. Dick Gregory, may Allah be pleased with that man who had incredible insight, incredible understanding, perspective of his time, the time before him, and the time we were going. Thank you, my dear teacher and mentor, Mr. Dick Gregory. He emphasized to me some years ago that the trick, if you will, for African-American, not so much survival, but suppression, was the idea to believe that somehow we were less than other, but at the same time, we only have value to them. We can never have value to ourselves. It's the same thing with religious communities, the Black church, immigrant Muslims. When they come here, there is always a question or a framework where you're constantly questioning the validity of religion as well as the validity of your own nature, your core, where you come from, your ethnicity. Nobody else has to do that, but we have to do that. And if you put religiosity over top of it, it's even more difficult because you have people who don't understand religiosity. So I saw this program on HBO Max. I normally don't get a lot of time to go through things. It was a 6-part episode. And let me tell you something, for the first time in a long time, thank you, praise coming in. But for the first time in a long time, I actually got to binge watch something. And I used to be able to do this when I had time and I had better focus. But I actually binge watched these things because they're like 22 minutes, something like that. They were digestible. And what I found, brothers and sisters, was this very sinister, very developed culture that kills the truth. It's couched in justice. It's couched in sentencing. It's couched in witness testimony and corroboration. It's couched in arguments that you see now. But it's a very deliberate language and lexicon that is focused on the fact that truth has to be killed wherever it is. And if you kill the truth, you kill everything else that comes with it. You kill the truth, you kill freedom. You kill truth, you kill justice. You kill truth, you kill expression. You kill truth, you kill creativity. You kill truth, you kill equality, if you will. And I was watching this thing. It's called Mind Over Matter. And watching Mind Over Matter really brought home the fact that, you know what? We've been slipping for a while. And when I say slipping, it means that, like the Matrix, you take the red pill or the blue pill. Some of us have taken the wrong pill and we've been walking around in the Matrix. And walking around in the Matrix does not lead you to reality. It slowly inoculates you to the fact that the false premises, that the lies, that the deceit and trickery are somehow as natural as breathing in and breathing out. Today, brothers and sisters, we're going to ask the question, are we seeing the depth of truth here on the Shout Out Show? I'm Preacher Mars. Thank you for joining us. All right, we are live here out on the Shout Out Show. Before we even get started on this very, I want to say, thick, voluminous topic about are we seeing the depth of truth, got to give a shout out to the people that make the show, the Shout Out family, the Shout Out Show soldiers. I was talking to Sister Satan, and we talked about all our day ones that have been on since day one, and it's just amazing that we've been able to take this ride for 600 plus episodes, which says more about you than it says about me. It says that people have a particular drive and a particular discipline to listen to somebody, not necessarily speak, but to listen. And that is something I'm going to talk about today, because I realized something that was amazing watching this documentary. So let me give my Shout Out Show family. We want to give a shout out to Sister Ree. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh. Little sister, I hope that you are doing well. Your health is good. Your spirit is good. I know we haven't gotten a chance to talk, but we will do that. I guarantee. Peace and blessings to your family. That will be Derek and Jawad, and we will talk to you sooner than later. All right? Much love. Also want to give a shout out to Mama San, better known as Mary B. Moss, my mom. The person who is largely 50% responsible for me being here on the earth. The other one, Clifford Moss Sr., Clifford Moss Jr. So, Mom, what's going on? Thank you so much. Have a great day, SOS Show. We appreciate your sunshine. Thank you so much for sharing. My main man, Mr. 6 o'clock, Altaf Rashid, straight up, straight down. He is a day one, and this brother we have promoted him actually to be the Canadian envoy to the Shout Out Show. He used to be the ambassador. He's an envoy now. I think maybe we'll make Adam Khan the ambassador to the show, but you're an envoy, man. I appreciate you always here for the Shout Out Show. And I have a special announcement that I'm going to make later towards the show. So please don't let me forget. So if I get to the wrap up, be like, Preach, you forgot the special announcement. I will make it. All right. It'll be something that I think everybody can be proud of, if you will. And my main man, Bilal Salahuddin, wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, beloved. You say you're swinging solo. You don't have Queen Sonia with you today. That's all right. Tell her we love and we miss her, and tell her that the show is better with her on it than you on it. All right. I'm just kidding. Bilal, thank you so much, man. Beat the heat, man. I saw that pool picture, bro. You gotta wear socks, man. You gotta wear socks when you're doing the pool, man. When you clean the pool, wear your socks. This is my main man, brother here. Mark Kennedy, better known as Jelani Locks, out of Washington, D.C., actually Northern Virginia, a political fire starter, a stalwart in terms of the Democratic cause here in the United States. Mark, I want you to watch this show. We'll probably wind up talking about it later offline. And I'm going to say some things that maybe I haven't said before. I haven't said with a certain type of clarity because I haven't felt the clarity, but I'm going to bring that up. And what's going on, brother? How you doing? My main man, Eric Carter, better known as Eric Carter. That's the East Coast. Eric Eric, good to see you here on the show, man. Peace and blessings to you. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Nice to see you. And we got my man Mark. God bless. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let me start this thing by saying this. Oftentimes, when I've talked about the concept of white supremacy, it comes in two terms. One term is I'm dealing with the finite. What I see, and what I've witnessed over a number of years, I kind of reflect on that. I have pathways to talk to the elders about what race was then. And when I say race, I don't mean just the Klan coming and burning the cross. We're talking about the legislators, the political crosses that were burned in the front lawns and hopes and dreams of African Americans going way back. Okay. Anytime there was a modicum of freedom or the idea of freedom, it scared people. And I always want to know, why did it scare white America, white supremacy, whereby you had all the levels of control. You literally had all the levels of control. And at some point in time, it becomes maniacal. It becomes sociopathic. It becomes madness that you are trying to control people. You can't control people. You just can't control people. And it's developed into these idioms that we see right now all over the news, and the Trumps and the never Trumpers and the Proud Boys. And I mean, all of these machinations come out of a very, very deep fear and a very, very deep level of insecurity. Now, like many of us, we say, well, white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy. One of the things we said on the show, and I've reiterated it for a very long time, is that we have to get out of the idea of thinking that white supremacy is just for non-whites. It's just against non-whites. No, white supremacy is about power narrative. So what you will understand is that if you look out throughout history, white people have had a long and extensive experience of oppressing other white people. That's what Europe was about. But they don't tell you about European history. It's about American history. So American history gives you a portrait of people who've been oppressed, Native Americans, African Americans, Latinos, because that is how you scope a value system. That if you show people who are oppressed, you're saying that these are people who could not fight the system. These are people who could not somehow change the infrastructure. Yes, we're blessed to have a King. We're blessed to have a Medgar Evers. We're blessed to have a Malcolm X, which cover religious freedom, which cover political aspects. We got an Obama. Obama came later. And I've talked to some people that said, Obama was a bit of an anomaly because people thought that a black president would have come earlier when black people had a much more stronger political base. Move that to the side. Let's get to the beginning of this story. The name of the documentary is called Mind Over Murder. Mind Over Murder. You can watch it on HBO Max, or I'm assuming HBO if you have HBO. It's a 6-part documentary series. It starts where there are literally no black people, no Latinos, no Muslims. None. No Native Americans. It starts in the town of Beatrice, Nebraska. Beatrice, Nebraska. Do not strain your brain trying to figure out where Beatrice, Nebraska is. If you ask me, preacher, where is it? I'm going to say, it's over by Scotts Bluff. You don't know where Scotts Bluff is. That's over by York. You don't know where York is. Around Lincoln, Nebraska. Leave it to the expert. But it's called Mind Over Murder. And what happens is, in a nutshell, an elderly woman is murdered and very bad crimes happen to her. She's killed, and the process of trying to find out the killer is very cold. They only have a blood type for the killer, not DNA, just a blood type, that this killer would have this type of blood type. And so it happens along this, and let me give a shout out to JT. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What unfolds in this documentary is someone says, I have information on that. So it's a snitch. It's a jailhouse snitch hoping to get, a reduced sentence. That person tells on his own wife. He said, my wife was involved. And then it unravels that the wife begins implicating all of these people. It turns out to be 6 people who were involved in this murder rape. I'm sorry to say it. This murder rape of this 68-year-old woman grandmother horrible story. All of them, except one, all of them confessed to the murder. 6 people, except one, confessed to the murder. Long story short, all of them do prison time. The one that confessed to the murder, who didn't confess to murder, he gets life. The other one who corroborated story, he gets like 50 years. He winds up doing like 18 or 19. The other guy who, and you say what happened in this story. The thing that was happening in this story is DNA evidence comes along. And DNA evidence comes along. It was suppressed by the AD in that town. He didn't want to let in DNA evidence. He said, I don't want to do it. But he's found out to be lying and dishonest because he actually requested information on DNA evidence and was about to use it. He didn't want to use it in his trial because it would upset the apple cart. Now, freeze. DNA evidence comes back on the person who did not confess to the crime. And the DNA comes back after a number of years. And let this be a lesson to people. A lot of people who are locked up in prison are not necessarily locked up because they did the crime that they are convicted of. A lot of them are locked up in prison because they didn't have access to the systems and the instruments to prove their innocence. Now, what happened in this place is this one guy who said, I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. He finally gets with the right attorney. They get DNA evidence because this police force did a great job containing the evidence. Guess what, brothers and sisters? He's found to be excluded from the person who could have done this crime. And his buddy excluded. All 6 of them wind up being excluded from the murder scene. They could not have been there. They couldn't have been in that apartment. Now, what I want you to understand is, if that's the case, why did they confess? Now, here's where it gets interesting. The death of truth. Everybody involved, particularly the women who had psychological issues, all of them were visited by a psychologist. But the psychologist also doubled as a deputy in the police department. You see a conflict of interest? And what he would tell them in already heightened and traumatized state is, you know what, you did it, but you're repressing it. You are repressing it. You did it. You probably did it. You probably forgot you did it. You did it. You know you did it, but you know you're fighting me about you did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. Here's some pictures of the murder scene. And all of these people are brought into this transom of guilt, and then they're threatened. And then even when with this particular deputy, this particular police officer who was the hero who cracked the case, even when they said, wait a minute, I want to recant my story, he would not let them recant the story. And the jurors didn't see that. And of course, the people of Beatrice didn't see that. And of course, you're dealing with the family who's lost a beloved grandmother, a beloved mother. They're traumatized. The whole city's traumatized. What was interesting here is the fact that even when all of this information was introduced and people had to say that legally and scientifically these people could not have committed these murders, you would have been surprised by the amount of people who said things like, well, they probably didn't kill her, but they did terrible things. I'm not saying they killed her, but they did terrible things. Huh? That people were in a space where the truth didn't matter. And I'm going to say this, Mark, I know you're going to appreciate this, JT. All they are going to appreciate this. One of my toughest audiences, or the toughest audience you may deal with, or somebody in interpersonal communication or whatever, is not somebody, for me as a comedian, my toughest person in the audience is not somebody who doesn't laugh. Never has been the case. That has never been the case. My toughest person in the audience is not someone who doesn't laugh. It is someone who communicates poorly. separate from what I would do in a comedy. Say they communicate poorly. And we had a generation of people, as you dial down, who have incredibly become proficient at communicating poorly. If you watch Donald Trump, and I would grade him, he's a very poor communicator. Can't stay on task, can't stay on idea. I'm not saying he's ADHD, but when he speaks, he's not sure what he speaks. Thus, he has to repeat it. In speech patterns, they say you usually repeat something at least 3 times to make the imprint. He will repeat it 6, 7 times. He will not even use a complete sentence and just use the term. What happened is that we now have a place where negative platitudes are thrown out all over the place, and we now look at them and we grade them and we give them some type of value. So even things that are discrediting, things that are not true, things that are lies, things of misinformation now have value. And as the value grows, it slowly has been squeezing out the truth. And that's what I mean. It's slowly been squeezing out the truth. If you have 10 people in the room and you look up in the sky and you say the sky is blue, one person out of 10 says the sky is blue, but the other 9 say the sky is green, and you put it out to an audience, you say, well, who do you believe? Even if the people in the audience know that the sky is blue, because the 8 people are there, or 9 people are there, they will say, you know what, it could be green. We're going to be right back, brothers and sisters. I appreciate it. Hang with your brother. We are talking about today. Are we looking at the death of the truth? Hey, babies. Welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart patient. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour, and the request lines are open. You know what you want to hear. I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just got to hear don't get the COVID.
Don't get the COVID. Put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe, and your people living up in your space. Don't get the COVID. You need to wash your hands. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying. Don't leave your family all alone and crying. Don't get the COVID.
We invite you to join our fight against COVID and against misinformation. It's time to listen to the doctors and trust the science.
When I think of people dying that don't have to die, it makes me sad. Now's the time to be sober. Together we can make this thing over. Let's fight the COVID. Convenient urgent care, home of the smart patient.
And we are back. Okay, cool, man. And I mean that please, with that public service announcement, don't get the COVID. I'm here to tell you, brothers and sisters, it's still relevant. People are still getting the COVID. And it won't be something that sinks in until people start, 1, filling up the hospitals, and 2, start dying in the hospitals. I am telling people, I've sat here told you, are we seeing the death of the truth? COVID should be a prime example of when people don't want to listen to the truth. Even to the point it kills them. They don't want to listen to the truth. Mark says, are we seeing the death of the truth? He says, not if we can help it. Truth lives. Yes. Where does it live? How long will it live? I feel like those are the valid questions. Now, the truth is, of course, brothers and sisters, I shouldn't say the death of the truth. Are people really using and utilizing, valuing the truth? Will probably be a much longer title. But to me, it's the death of the truth. I'm going to give you guys an example. Some years ago, I was in college. Some years ago, there was a break-in in our dorm. Okay? It's breaking in the dorm, and I'm just coming back, I think, from playing basketball or something. And I'm sitting with, not sitting, but I'm listening to these white guys construct their story about where they were. You see what I'm saying? And I'm sitting, why do you have to construct a story about where you were? The reason I had to construct a story because they were the ones that perpetrated crime. The interesting part was I shut my mouth and I just listened. And what I realized as they began to pull that story together, guy looked at me and said, were you here? And I said, no. He goes, well, where were you? And I realized the more I talked, the more I was engaging myself in his story. That somehow if I told him he was there, he could say, oh, I was with him, or he was there. See how it goes? I was with him, but he was there. And here's the thing that I understood. This is at 18 years old. What I understood was it's two types of lies. It's two types of lies. It's white lies and it's other white lies. It's white lies, other white. The other white lies are the ones that black folk can't tell. Latinos can't tell. Native Americans can't tell. Poor people can't tell. And I realized that these lies are very insulated. See, a black man or Native American can't tell the lies that the white man can tell because those lies have been cultured. They've been bought from overseas. They are the results of oppression of white people repressing other white people. So we don't know the full nomenclature of these lies that are being told, that are given as myth or legend. We don't know what it is. We simply accept that we can represent ourselves in a truthful manner right here, right now. Why? Because we are truthful people. How many times have you heard about a black person went to jail 20, 25 years, 30 years? He told the truth, but what happened? He wasn't exonerated for 25, 35 years later because technology had to catch up and reveal the truth. Now, this is the case I told you with this mind over murder, that a number of years had to pass before technology told the truth. But here's the interesting thing. It was the pursuit of power, the pursuit of recognition, the pursuit of fame that led to all of these people winding up in prison for substantial amounts of time. And the build is that they all told on one another. They all told on one another on something that never happened. On something that never happened. So how do you have a trial and the truth is never revealed? How do you go through a judicial process where you take witness testimony, corroborate it, and in the end, it never happened? And I started thinking to myself, wow. I said, ain't no black folk involved in this at all. Just all white folks telling on each other, lying on each other, implicating each other. The truth had no place in this whole thing. The person who actually committed this crime wound up dying of AIDS, never was in prison. And the police at this time, if it wasn't for the work of this goofy detective, this disgraced detective, they actually had the first person. And let me be full clear too. The pathologist who looked at the blood samples, okay, she was a black lady. They called her Black Magic. She botched the original. And if she had gotten this together, then maybe this doesn't happen. I don't know. We're talking DNA. But to my point, brothers and sisters, what I'm saying is we have to begin to look at defending not the truth in terms of my story, but the overall concept. Why truth is important. Why truth matters. What do we tell our children? What do we tell our politicians? The politicians, Mark, you know this, politicians categorically are some of the worst communicators in the world that don't know how to communicate. Why? Because they can only communicate to their own base of people. Their own base. That's why Southern politicians didn't do well up north and because they can only communicate to their own people. So you got to look at the history of politics in the United States. It's very segregated. It took a Martin Luther King to galvanize black folks. Even though when he came north, they gave him hell, but it took him to galvanize black folk. And Malcolm did the same. Malcolm went up north, went down south. So I'm going to leave here, but I want to make sure I give some love and appreciation, of course, for our sponsors. So I want to give a little love. I want to give a love to BeFinancialIndependent.com. Give a call at 202-508-3780. Again, that's BeFinancialIndependent.com, 202-508-3780. Also want to give a shout out to ushub.tv. Again, that's ushub.tv. We're shooting our comedy special in Washington, D.C., August the 11th, inshallah. Mark, you got to be there. Mom, you got to be there. Everybody got to be there, so make sure you're there. Also, a shout out to my alum that are coming to the city of Houston, my man, Imam Jihad Safir. Bayan Islamic Graduate School. Check them out. Bayan Islamic Graduate School. Go to bayanonline.org. Again, that's bayanonline.org. And how could we forget? Of course, convenienturgentcare.com. Go to convenienturgent.com, convenienturgent.com. And as well, shout out to Islamic Relief USA. Got one other note for you guys. Oh, yeah. Mark said politicians are reflective of voters. Well, you got to find that Winston Churchill comment on democracy. Okay. Or non-voters. That's hilarious. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, so here's my other note. Don't get too excited, but I'm very, very pleased to say that we secured the remaining amount of money for the Sin Preacher Moss to Prison campaign. We will be kicking that off in the city of Houston at Master Tawheed. We secured, I will not say the donor's name. He's a doctor in the Dallas area, very, very quiet, low-key brother. But he has graciously blessed us with the remaining money so that we can have our program, we can secure computers, instructors, and also mental health support for the brothers as needed. I'm very, very proud, and I hope that this program is going to kick off into September, beginning of October. So please make dua for us, pray for us, pray for our success. Because, again, we're going to start with the inmates, but we're also going to lean it over to other traditionally underrepresented demographics here in the United States. All right. So you guys are awesome. I have to go. Thank you so much. I went a little bit over, so don't tell Satana. But, this was kind of a big topic today. So I appreciate you sticking with me. God bless you. Hope to see you soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. ShOUT Show.